אהלן, רם, איזה כבוד. כן, אנחנו פה לבד כי אני לא יודע איך לעשות לייב. עשיתי את ההזמנה וההזמנה נתקעה כאילו, אז פתחתי אחד חדש. תודה, תודה רם, איזה כיף. חייבים להיפגש שאני אבוא לארץ. מלך. Yes, I know I found it. Excellent. Let me see. I'm going to open it here on my computer. Mute myself. All right. כבוד שאתה איתנו. תודה רבה, דן. כבוד שלי להיות איתכם. שאנחנו ביחד. All right, so let's wait a little bit until a few more people come. Meanwhile, I will say this. This is not a commercial for these children toys. This is not a sponsored video. No one is paying me to make any video. I'm doing this all for free from my own time. But this is a cool tip for parents. And I thought, while we're waiting for people to come in before we start, I can give you one of my biggest passions in my life is being a father. It's the biggest gift that I've had, literally, after being born. To the family that I was born, the second biggest gift that I have is starting my own family and being a father. And this is one of the coolest things that you can do to your child. It's called the Toniebox. Again, they're not sponsoring me. They don't know about this video. I just really like to advertise things that I use, products that I actually like, and I find them helpful. And this is an audiobook. And what's cool about it is you get your kid this suitcase, and then he have all of his toys, figures. So my kid, for example, when he wakes up in the weekend, instead of hello from Peru, Isa, instead of waking up in the morning and waking me up and kind of not letting me sleep in a little bit, he comes to the living room, he grabs his figure, which one it is, he puts it, and then the story starts. It's an audiobook, so instead of having your kids like zombies in front of the TV or I don't know what, they can listen to books until they can get to the age where they can start reading books. So again, this is not a commercial. Well, actually, it is kind of a commercial, but it's just a really cool thing that I like to use. So I recommend to any parent out there, called Toniebox. And if you're far away from your kids or you want to give them your own story, you can actually record your story into this figure, this like little Snoofkin kind of look-alike. Hey, from Central Canada, Casey, welcome to the channel. And then your kid can listen to your voice. So if you're a father who's working overseas, or a mother, or just someone that wants, to tell her own stories, and the kid loves listening to the voice of his parents, you can upload your own voice with your story into this, and then it tells your story, so the kid can listen in the car when I'm driving. That's how Rafi spends his time. I rather not give him a phone when I'm driving on the road. In general, he doesn't have anything to do with phones. In general, I rather minimize the interaction that he have with technology at this age and just want him to play outside with sticks and BMX bikes. And I don't want, like me and Ram Chayun used to play when we were kids. Ram Chayun grew up in my neighborhood, and this guy have an amazing story from our childhood, but also on October 7. And one of my goals is to one day interview him and have him tell the story of how he survived the October 7. So thanks for being here, Ram, and we highly appreciate. And also thanks for everyone that came here. I want to give a big shout out to Ainora. Honestly, since I started doing these live videos, and I was encouraged to do it by Tal. If anyone doesn't know Tal from the Traveling Clat, a really cool dude, and he have this amazing traveling vlog channel. And he started pitching his shoulder. I kind of said it before, and I don't know if people understand that. He put his shoulder under the stretcher. It's a saying that we have in Israel, maybe in other armies, "Lasim katef mitachat la'alunka," meaning that when there is a mission, you need to carry someone, you need to rescue someone, you need to get from a place to a place, and someone is injured, and you have the same 4 people under the stretcher, they're gonna get worn out, they're gonna get tired, they're gonna fall and collapse. So each one need to rotate, and everyone, even though when it's the hardest moment and you're tired, you'll go and you put your shoulder. And Tal has been putting his shoulder since the beginning of this war under the stretcher of Hezbollah and helping explain and battle anti-Semitism. So with the help of Tal, I got to know about these YouTube lives. And as I was doing them, as the amateur noob I am, I found out how important it is to have someone who's a moderator in these channels. And Inora agreed to help me moderate and maybe, you know, filter some questions or lift up a few questions so it's easier for me to see, because when you send me questions, I'm looking at the screen and sometimes I might miss. So thank you so much, Inora. I'm in general so impressed by the community that I started to get to know here in YouTube since I came, and really, really thankful. Zohar Spivak, welcome. Isa, what are you doing in Peru? Every second day you're somewhere else. All right, so let's start without further ado. Thanks, Joseph, for the first time. It's an honor to have you here. Maybe let me tell you a little bit about myself as we jump in, because some of you might not know me. My name is Mansur, and I'm an Israeli Arab. I was born and raised in Israel. My family have been living in the land of Israel from my mother's side, sorry, for the last 1,000 years probably. And my mother's side, my father's side came from Lebanon and Syria. The family, and they moved into Israel. Interesting story is they were here during the beginning of the state of Israel, and they were here when the Muslims were trying to annihilate the Jews back then, gave the warning to the Arabs, leave the country, 24, 48 hours, come back, they'll all be dead, you can go and take their homes. So my family even got that warning, and my grandfather chose and says, no, I'm not leaving, I'm staying here, and he chose to stand with the Jews. So that's just a little bit, oh, the traveling clat is here. So anyone was asking me, who is Tal? The traveling clat is this guy. He just joined the channel. Please go. I'm probably, you know, preaching to the choir. You're probably all following him way before you followed me. But if anyone doesn't know him, go and check this dude out. I honestly have to say, there came a moment after October 7th started. I was making one video a day for 70 days. Out of my free time, I took a break from work. And I said, I'm going to stand with my country. And it came a moment where I was getting worn out, where I was getting financially also, it was getting, you know, I was doing it all of my expenses from my own, my bank account was going low. And I was thinking of maybe quitting or taking a break and going back to work. And, you know, don't know how long I will be able to do this videos on Hezbollah. And in that moment, Tal, just out of nowhere, contacted me and told me, dude, we need to talk. And he started explaining to me a little bit about YouTube and about how great is YouTube and how I should start moving myself from Instagram and put more emphasis in YouTube. And also gave me all the bits inside out about what it is to be a YouTuber, to be a content creator, and also believing in what I'm doing and in me. And that was, I'm not joking, that was one of the moments. I was literally on the point of sending an email back to my work and says, guys, coming back, prepare a spot for me. And I decided to wait, thanks to the talk with Tal. So Tal, thank you so much, man. I can't say how much I appreciate you standing behind young YouTubers, new YouTubers like me and like other Barak and others. You know, you're helping so much. Go check this guy out. And by the way, there's gonna be a video that is definitely gonna happen where I'm gonna do a collab with Tal. I'm gonna probably do a lot of collabs with Tal because I just love the dude. But we're gonna do a video about the Druze cooking. And we're hoping to do a video about my mom's food and the Druze culture. So definitely gonna have to watch that. I can't wait, I'm excited. So like I said, my name is Mansur, I'm an Israeli Arab. Grew up in Israel. A little bit myself, I served in the Israeli army. I was a pacifist before, but then I realized that to be a pacifist in Israel, you can't really be a pacifist in Israel and be honest to yourself. You can play this game. It's a cute game to play. You can play it in Switzerland or in Denmark, maybe, but not really in Israel, because the fact that you are alive in Israel as an Arab or as a Jew or as a Christian is because there is brave men and women that are going to the army willing to risk their life and give some of their best years to protect you. So then I went and joined the army, and I was in the special forces, and I was an officer in the army for a while, and I did a variety of jobs in the military and outside the military related to security. And I also studied the history of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism as a religion, and I studied psychology because it did help me in some of the things that I did when I was in the army. And I was a negotiator for a while, and the whole idea was to be able to negotiate cases of kidnapped people, of hostage situation when it's anti-terrorism related. And someone like me with the knowledge and the background grew up, as an Arab, speaking fluent Arabic, and also knowing the culture, which is the huge difference. And I might explain a little bit about that maybe now in other videos. But it makes a whole difference when you grew up in the culture or someone that learned the culture from outside. The way that you can think fast and understand these little nuances that are just normal in that Arab culture, someone else might not understand it. So I was a negotiator for a while, and my studies of psychology and the history of religion were coming very effective. I'm a big fan of movies. I love D&D and Dungeons and Dragons, and that's what I do with my kid most of the time. I play swords. I just bought him this wooden sword that I love for his birthday. And yeah, just all in all, an average dude with some nerdy background and a rich experience. Another D&D nerd. Yeah, man. I'm waiting to have my D&D party. I think D&D, I do D&D with my kid. Since he's 3. And what I'm saying is I made it a bedtime routine D&D. I created this adventure and these characters. Habibti, Agam Habibti came. Agam is a D&D nerd as well. Shout out to Agam. You know what? Tal is here is one of the reasons that I kept doing and didn't like to break. Agam is probably the reason that I am in YouTube. Because that dude is relentless. That dude saw me when we were going to Africa, or before even together, to help build a school. And he's been drilling in my head that I need to start my YouTube channel. And not only that, I was so bad and cringy in the beginning, and he didn't give up on me. He didn't give up, and now that I look at me, how I was in the beginning, it's like, wow, I don't know which potential he saw. I didn't see any potential. It looks terrible. But he saw the potential, and he was always there with me. If anytime, he's probably the #1 guy that is still cringe. I just wait until I catch you, man. Just wait until I catch you. Your jiu-jitsu is not going to help you. You're done. But he still gives me so much shit about the thumbnails that I'm doing, and a lot of time the videos, which is good because I want to have friends like that. We should surround ourselves with people around us that are critical thinkers. What do you think about Syrians singing Hatikva, Mansur? Should I be excited? I didn't see the Syrians singing the Tikva. So as for editors, yes, if anyone here is an editor and he's really good at it and want to help me, reach out. I'm doing it all by myself. Now, that was a little bit about myself. We can also answer a little bit questions later, but let's delve right in. You know what? Let me give you an interesting freebie from the world of negotiation. You're an editor. Amir is an editor. Yeah, actually, Amir was editing videos that I made in Africa when we were in the summer camps. That's true. But I think you're a little bit too busy and overpriced right now for me, Amir. I'm looking for someone a little bit cheaper. One time I was sitting in a room and we're having a training by a very high-ranking special operator, let's call it, that was very, very knowledgeable about the whole world of negotiation. And he came and I was the only non-Jew, or I was the only Arab in the room. And there's a few Arabs here that probably will understand what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure, Amir might even kind of spot it out. And he said, okay, guys, I'm going to show you a video. And he showed us an Egyptian video. And first time he showed us the video without audio, just the video. And then he asked everyone, and the video showed a man, like an old Egyptian man sitting on a chair, and then a young man comes to his office, and then they start having a conversation, and then, the hand starts moving and smacking on the table and everything, and like the chest, and this and this and this. And then he asked everybody in the room, Amir, let's make it half. Come on, man. Let's make it, take 3 zeros down. It's not a lot. €1 per hour of editing. So anyway, these two, the older man and the young man, start smacking the table, pumping the chest, and just hand and body language. And then he asked everybody in the room what's happening, and everyone in the room said they're fighting. They're arguing about something. There's some kind of a heated argument about family pride. I don't know what. And I was the only one smiling, and I raised my hand. And this guy, this agent, came and asked me, "What do you think?" And I said, "They're not fighting. They're probably trying to argue who is going to be allowed to serve the other, who is going to be allowed to take the honor of being the servant in this situation." And he started laughing. He says, "Wow, you must be an Arab." And I said, "Yep." He says, "See, guys, you can't train that." And then he put the audio. And what was the conversation? It was a father of the bride, and the soon-to-be husband of his daughter comes there and tells him, "Listen, please let me take care of the food for the wedding." And then the father says, "No, absolutely not. That's against the honor of the family. I'm not going to let you." And they start having this argument. "Ma'lesh ya ammi." And in Arabic, it was probably the most polite and respectful conversation you can have. But to the untrained eye, this would look like they're having a huge fight. So that is sometimes the importance of being someone that grew up in the culture. And it's the same thing to any culture. If you take someone from the Middle East and Arab and you put him now in Norway or in Germany and he goes and joins the family for breakfast, he'll be shocked. He would not understand any of the social cues that are happening, and he'll miss so many little nuances. Now, this is a nice, beautiful breakfast in Germany, but take that now to the world of investigation, interrogation, special ops. Every mistake can get you killed. You can get killed in a second, just a blink of an eye, a mistake that will reveal. So you need to know these things. So that is something from the world of negotiation. Now let's go back to what we said we're going to be talking about today. In today's video, I want to be talking about the first question that I said. And like I said, you're more than welcome to put questions later on. I know I will help pop them out so I see them. Is a war with Hezbollah, Lebanon, and Israel inevitable? Is it something that we can avoid? And if I'm going to give a direct answer, and people might not like this answer, but there's no way around it, if you ask me. And it's just a matter of when and how. And the one who's going to lose the most, everybody loses from war, but the one who's going to lose the most is going to be Lebanon. It's going to be the Lebanese people. Also, last war that they had with Israel. Now, let's separate two things. You have the Lebanese, and then you have Hezbollah and the radical Muslims. Lebanon used to be very Christian. And that's why also part of it, she was called the Paris of the Middle East. If you would watch MTV back in the days of Lebanon MTV, they had more girls in bikinis than the MTV in Miami, or in the US. It was very, very advanced and liberal and open society. I had a family there. But what happened is the Christians were being taken by radical Muslims and kicked out of the country and fought. And also in general, also the Muslims and the Druze there were started being kicked out of the moderate ones by the radical Muslim, and Hezbollah took over. And since then, Lebanon is some kind of a more successful example of Gaza in a way. A terrorist organization have kidnapped the whole nation and is using that nation as a base for its operation. No one can challenge Hezbollah, and they can take down prime ministers and whoever. So they really hold the country, and they're sponsored by Iran, which is the big snake that is sponsoring all these terrorist groups. Now, the last war that happened, Israel ended up flattening a big part of Lebanon because, Hezbollah kidnapped Israeli soldiers and started a war. And Nasrallah, even when he came out of the bunker and he looked at the devastation around him, he came and he said, "If I would have known that this would be the reaction of Israel, I would have not started the war." And a funny, interesting thing about this, and some of you, if you watched one of my last videos when I was talking about it, why are the Lebanese uprising? I'll answer that. There was a special Lebanese Hezbollah unit that was trying to infiltrate Israel, and their commander got killed. And on his pocket, they found the 10 commandments of Hezbollah. And every army, every modern army or country in the world, have these kind of sets of beliefs that the organization is built on. And one of the points that was there was Israel is a sleeping tiger. Don't wake him up. keep poking him, but don't wake him up. And that was, that was a very smart thing from a terrorist organization to come and understand that we are dealing with a way stronger entity. And I think that's one of the reasons that they're different than Hamas, because Hamas, the average Hamas soldier there, they literally actually thought that they're gonna come and wipe out Israel, running with, an AK-47, a bicycle, and a guy on a parachute, coming on a parachute. But Hezbollah was a little bit more kind of, okay, we know it's a nuclear nation. They have submarines, they have airplanes. We don't have these things. We can't really defeat them, but we can poke them and drive them nuts until one day we can defeat them, but don't overdo it. A great example when they overdid it was when they kidnapped. A great example when Hamas overdid it, October 7, and then now you're looking at the result that is happening where Israel is basically flattening Gaza. Not because they want to flatten Gaza, but because Hamas keeps fighting from inside of Gaza and the hostages are still being held there and Hamas keeps shooting. So it's an enemy country that is at war with us and they're not surrendering. And that is something about war that you need to understand. You don't end war without victory. It's bad to start a war. The answer should be before. But once you start a war, never in the history of warfare did a war really end without a victory. They took a break sometimes, but then they kept fighting with each other. So there need to be some kind of victory. And the victory can be military victory, ideology victory, or even educational victory. Usually it's kind of a combination. So with Hamas, right now, the war is not finished. With Hezbollah, the war was never finished. And you don't have peace with them. The only reason they're not destroying you is because they can't destroy you. So that means that unless that change, there's not going to be peace. And the question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit on the fence and just wait for them one day to have the chance to come and destroy you? Or are you going to come and take it? In this case, it's even getting worse because Hezbollah is shooting rockets on Israel right, left, and center, day and night. And Israel is going to have to take actions. So if you ask me, I think we're very close to start seeing a war with Lebanon. I hope not. It's not good for anyone, but especially for the Lebanese, for the innocent ones in Lebanon, it's going to be, Lebanon is already suffering financially and culturally, and having a war with Israel brought on them is not going to be good for them. Don't you think there will be a mutual destruction? No. I understand what he's saying. Yes, Israel doesn't have the depth of field. A bigger problem that Israel doesn't have also is economy-wise. That's one of the reasons that Israel wanted to finish wars very fast. Sometimes it was also economically. You can't, how long can you take all the men from the market, or women also in Israel? So economically, you need to start giving back. So having a big war is very difficult geographically, you're right, but also economically. Mutual destruction, Lebanon doesn't have the capability to destroy Israel. Israel have the capability to destroy Lebanon. Lebanon can shoot a few rockets on Israel, but if Israel gets to the point where it's pushed to its back, they would literally use the big bombs. I'm not talking nuclear bombs, but literally they will just wipe them down. That we are superior Air Force-wise, Navy-wise, infantry, tank-wise, and etc., etc. So it's not even a fair fight, I would call it. Yes, it will be terrible, and there will be a lot of casualties. But the Lebanese people definitely would not benefit from this. The only thing is if Iran and other countries will join and where America will stand in regards of that. And, I think America in general is always usually standing with Israel, although with this Biden administration, there's a lot of hiccups that are happening between Israel, also from Israel's side and their side, so we don't know. All right, let's see. A lot of the problems in Lebanon are corruption too. Yep, that is very, very true. I used to have a Portuguese flatmate, and that's Chet is asking. Every time she heard me talking on the phone with my mom, she thought we were fighting. Yeah, that's an Arab. Every time I used to invite non-Arab friends, Jewish or Christians, to my Friday dinner at my family, they will be shocked, literally shocked. Once invited a guy named Futterman, and he was sitting there. And he is a very Ashkenazi person, and I think he literally was terrified because my brother were shouting at each other, but they were talking and my singing and this was singing, and they were all clapping hands and I don't know what, and everybody was talking over each other. So yeah, it's like my big fat Greek wedding kind of similarity. Now Zohar is asking an interesting question. Zohar Speaker, do you think Islam needs to be reformed? Great question. Absolutely yes. I think it doesn't need to be, it has to be reformed. If it doesn't get reformed, there's only two outcomes, if you ask me. Either Islam will take over the world, or the world will just end up having a total war with Islam because they will resist the takeover. Islam have a lot of beautiful qualities that are in it, but the problem with Islam, and that's something, you know, from the academic world we used to describe it, is that it's a newer religion. And because it's a newer religion, yeah, I would love the Tikva audio clip. Because it came as a newer religion, it focused more not only on theology, like Judaism, Christianity focused mostly about theology, and it was easier to separate than church and state. You know what, guys? You keep praying and teaching people how to work the Lord, serve God, and let us run politics. Islam mixed it together. And then they were unable to separate the two. And that's why, you know, in most Muslim countries today, they're unable to go and even tone down radical Muslims, radical religious people. Because the moment you criticize them, they can say, oh, you're a kuffar, you should be killed, and then the whole people can go on you. There is a country, Saudi Arabia, I believe, is trying to do that. Jordan, in a way, is trying to do that. But if they don't go through their own renaissance to become fitted with Western values, then it's going to be almost impossible for them to adjust to our reality. I'll give you a great example. When I was hiking Jordan, and I was probably the first Israeli to walk all of Jordan by foot, and probably one of the first 10 people that are not Jordanians or even Jordanians. Micha Davis, welcome back, brother. I'll look at your question in a second. But I was being hosted by a Bedouin in his camp, and I was with a German girl back then. And that man had 5 wives, or 4. And he came and said he saw us coming from the road and we were thirsty. We didn't have water. And he said, I'll give you water and food. He was treating us very, very respectfully, like the classical, typical Bedouin that you'd imagine the image in your head. And then when he went, we saw through one of the curtains an eye peeking at us. And I came and I looked in it, and it was a woman, and she was peeking at us, and she ran away. So the girl that was with me asked me if I can call her and let's talk to her. I told her, la la, habibti, na, absolutely not. Uzu billah. If the man comes back now and he sees a stranger man talking to his wife without him there, that can end up in a very serious outcome. Either I'll be in danger or he'll go and beat her up. And he came later, actually started shouting at them, throwing stuff at them, and telling them to go and prepare food and water. And I asked the German girl then, I asked her, what do you think about this guy? And she said, wow, you know, I find him like very kind of in the romantic idea of a Bedouin, very kind of, you know, noble, very welcoming, hospitable. And I said, okay, interesting. And I agree. He was very kind to us. But what if I told you right now that in Germany, there is a new religion that just started by men. And in this religion, these men can have as many wives as they can. Usually they cap it between 4 to 6, let's say. The wives are literally sex slaves, and their job is to be servants, to clean for you, to cook for you, to bring children, to raise the children for you, and to have sex with you on demand. And if they challenge you, you're allowed to beat them up. And if anyone comes and challenge that religion, they can go and kill him. What if I told you that in Germany, a group of German white men started this? She said, they will be arrested in a second, and the whole country will go raging on them. I said, well, I just described to you moderate, typical Islam in Muslim world. I'm not talking radical. And she was shocked. And I said, you see, once you take your own values as a Western society and you start actually trying to have them come to that standard, you will realize how far off you are. And until they don't take that gap and try to actually change and work on their way inside when it comes to human right, when it comes to women's right, when it comes to acceptance of other religions and tolerance and coexistence, it's going to be very hard. All right. Micha asked a question. What will the propaganda war looks like with Hezbollah as opposed to Hamas? Wow, that's a good question. What can we do ahead of time to not lose so badly in the war of public opinion like we are with Hamas? Wow, that's a great, great question. In general, Hezbollah, in my opinion, will use the same tactics that Hamas is using. And they will do some things differently. But that's from my experience because I actually did deal with Hezbollah in my past when I was in the service. So the tactics that they're using is the same thing as using humans as human shields. They know that Israel is stronger and they know that they want to create some damage to Israel, and then they want to go back and hide and have Israel go and wear off Israel and also make Israel lose its stand in the international community. To give, the more they can undermine the image of Israel as a good country and make Israel look like a genocidal apartheid country, the better is for them. So for them, it's a win-win. They say, we'll go attack them, we'll kill in the most horrific way, we'll humiliate them, then we'll run, we'll hide, they will come after us, and they will end up killing civilians because we hide behind them. And then the world, who was shocked for several days from what happened to the Israelis, will start forgetting that, and will start seeing images of dead babies and women, and some of these images are even recycled. We've seen the same thing when it was with Syria, we've seen the same thing with Lebanon, they use the same tactics. And only now they will even, the destruction of Lebanon, they'll start blaming that on Israel, and etc. What can Israel do, if you ask me? And the answer for that is not only against Hezbollah, it's also against Hamas. Israel was sleeping on its nose when it came to Hezbollah, when it came to international opinion. Israel had very bad PR from the government, and also as a culture, as a society, they were not so focused in, they didn't care too much what the world think. And that was something that Israel woke up now and realized, whoa, universities, colleges, institutions around the world that we thought that our friends are all turning on us, and they really believe that we are the bad guys. The Nazi supporters tried to deny the Holocaust throughout the entire history, but they only raised their head maybe 40 years after they had the guts a little bit to try to deny the Holocaust. Because, people would shame them. People would immediately get, oh, you're a Nazi. That would be very, very bad. That's it. Your career is done. Your life is done. The pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas supporters tried to deny October 7 in the day that October 7 happened. That shows you how bold and comfortable they felt with their lies. While it was happening, they were saying that IDF did that. And then they said, no, Hamas killed only soldiers. And then we saw, no, killed civilians. And then, oh, but the civilians who were fighting them. What do you mean fighting? They were babies. Beheaded. No, they were not beheaded. There were no rapes. They kept denying it, and even now denying it. The thing is, with the propaganda war, instead of only focusing on defending, Israel should go, and the West should go on the offense. And what I'm saying on the offense is, it's not that hard to show the ugly face of radical Islam. It's actually very easy. They don't hide it. And you need to start putting the flashlight on that, exposing that more and more, showing how do they treat LGBTQ, how do they treat women, how do they treat Christians. The only place in the world right now where there's genocide attempts happening is in Muslim countries who are trying to genocide either Muslims or either Christians or Jews. Look at Sudan and look at the Darfur and other places. So we need to start putting the flashlight on them. We need to start having more and more vloggers, YouTubers, social media people, news people who take the time to expose that, even if it's not their full-time job. I'll be making a video about the content I'm creating, and I'll just throw a word. Hey, I just want to shout out to all the brave people right now in Sudan who are suffering from the genocide. I really hope that there will be peace there and that the radical Muslims there will stop trying to kill them. And if we start having more and more voices calling the truth about it, you'll start having maybe a shift of change. Anti-Semites will stay anti-Semites, racists will stay racist, but the one in the middle that are just getting bombarded by the victimhood card of the bad guys, Hezbollah and Hamas, will start realizing you guys are not that victims. So I think that is something that we should do, and I hope that I answer the question from Davis. Craig, welcome back, brother. Craig is a great brother as well. One of the very impressive young men from England that I have. I can't wait for him to come to Germany because I want to do a podcast with the guy. What do you think about the situation with Islam in the UK after your recent trip? What I think the UK is doomed. I think the UK is done. And unless they really wake up right now, like a drowning man wakes up and starts fighting for his life to not drown, UK is done. When I was in the UK and I went and I come to Texas, I wish, and I went and I put the kafia, my grandfather kafia, by the way, and I wanted to go and see these pro-Palestine demonstrations. The level of hate, racism, and ignorance that I've seen in one place was probably the highest level that I've seen in any of my trips around when it comes to anti-Semitism and politics in the world. You would go and you would see in demonstrations very, very radical Arabs that fled from all kind of Arabic countries that have very dark thoughts, that have really extreme thoughts, that clearly want to take your country, that clearly want to bring Sharia law and put it in country. And then you'll see them walking with a megaphone and a bunch of lesbians and gay people and queers and very liberal people walking around and chanting after them and completely believing that they were the good guys. That's how radical it became. It became insane. And even further, I'll give you a very good example. One of my good friends there that I met, he's an Iranian activist. His name is Niak, a very impressive guy who is very bold. And he goes to these demonstrations and he cares about Iran. He cares about his people. And he witnessed already how Iran was taken down by radical left and by radical Muslims who came together, took the country, and then started killing each other. And he says, I'm seeing the same thing happening in England. And he said, I used to come to this demonstration just holding a sign saying, Hamas is a terrorist organization declared by the UK government. And then he would put the part in the law from the UK government saying anyone who supports a terrorist organization is considered an affiliate with terrorism or helping terrorism, and that's against the law. So he'll hold that, and he will get beat up by the demonstrators, by the pro-Palestinians, and later on he will get beat up by the police, by the UK police that will came and beat him up and take him around, tell him you can't do that. And he says, I can't do what? I can't come and show the UK law. So that is how badly, if you ask me, is the situation in the UK and some places in Europe. And unless they really wake up and they realize that this is really an invasion, guys. Don't listen to some weirdo from, I don't know, New Zealand telling you. Listen to an Arab from the Middle East that knows Arabic, that have been to these mosques, that heard these conversations. It's a clear invasion. Wake up. And if you don't wake up and realize that the West is in danger of losing its identity and its freedom and its liberties because radical Islam is going to come and make it another caliphate, then I don't know what to tell you. The warning was written on the wall and you just choose to ignore it. And I'm not the only one saying that. There's a lot of Arabs that came from that world that is saying that. So guys, wake up. Let's see another one of the questions that I wanted to talk about. And of course, we can answer some of the questions that you throw. Why is it taking the IDF so long to destroy Hamas? Let me try to answer that as someone that comes from the military, someone that actually was in Gaza, someone that actually fought against Hamas and know it inside out. There was a video that I made, and I put it on Instagram, I think, where it shows Hamas operative coming out of a tunnel, trying to shoot an RPG, and this time they take him down and goes down. They were preparing. Why the Druze don't eat... Okay, let me answer this. Amir here is asking why Druze don't eat muluhiyya. It is due to gender racism or sexism. You really want me to get cancelled, huh, Amir? You really want me to get cancelled. See, that's my best friends out there trying to get me to answer. So, there is an Arab food that is famous in Lebanon and Syria. And it's made out of like natural herbs that you can gather from the mountains, from the gardens. It's actually very tasty. The Druze in Israel refuse to eat it because they believe that this food is like some kind of a natural Viagra. It boosts the alibo, whatever you call that thing, you know, that sexual drive that you have, and it can make someone become, forgive my language, very horny, and then he can go and commit adultery. So the Druze don't want to eat that in Israel, and they see it as something very, very bad. Druze in Syria, however, do eat that, and we have relatives from Syria that fled to Europe because there was an attempt to kill them by the government and by ISIS. And I visited them with my mom and they prepared nuhiyya and my mom almost fainted. Ya habibi, ya Mansur, ya waili, how can you eat that? And they were like, really? She didn't want us to eat it because they believe that it's literally a natural, yeah, sexual drive, gavra power. Yeah, that is mluhiyya, and some people in the Arab world see that way. Very tasty, guys, and you know what? From my experience, I didn't feel horny after eating that. And we'll leave it with that. Back to Hamas and the war in Gaza. So Hamas have been taking Gaza hostage for the last 16 years, using humanitarian aid money to build their tunnels and preparing for the war. Great question, Craig. I'll answer that in a second. And they knew, don't think that they were surprised. You see, Hamas had about, they say, I think 40 to 60,000, combatant soldiers. Some said 70,000, it's hard to get the real numbers. They sent about 3 to 5,000 into Israel on October 7. People are arguing about the numbers. They didn't send everybody because why? They knew what's going to happen after. They've been preparing for that. They've been preparing for this war, knowing we're going to hit them the hardest way, in the most brutal way known in modern history. Then we're going to hide and we're going to wear them out. And they knew that Israel is not going to destroy them as an army to an army, because Israel can just go and flatten Gaza. Because Israel fights by humanitarian code, by a humanitarian international law. So we're going to hide in kindergartens and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Israel is still trying to fight them in a humanitarian way of warfare. And that's why it's taking so much casualties, taking so much time, because they don't want to go and flatten all of Gaza and kill all the Gazans. And Hamas wants that and is hiding behind them. So that is the answer about that. Now, Craig asked a good question. Okay. Also, Christina will answer that. What would you do in a zombie apocalypse? Okay, we'll answer that in the end. Do you think IDF will invade Lebanon? If so, when? If Israel want to defeat Hezbollah, there's no way around it. In every modern warfare, and we saw that in the last Lebanese warfare when the Ramatkal of the IDF was actually an Air Force guy, and he really thought that wars can be won by technology and airplanes. No. The war is won by the grunt, by the soldier who go and shoot into the bunker, throw a grenade inside, and then stick the flag. Full of mud, full of grit, full of, blood. That's how you win a war. It's sad, it's dirty, but that's, nothing changed yet. We don't have, AI Terminator robots that we can go and do that with killer drones and just finish a war for us yet, and I hope we never do. So if Israel will decide to eliminate the threat, here's the thing. Israel woke up on October 7 and realized the mistake that it did. The mistake that it did is they knew the intention of Hamas, they knew the intention of Hezbollah, but they never thought that they would be able to execute these intentions. So they kind of said, okay, let's just, wait it out. Now they're waking up and realizing, no, never again is never again. We fell asleep. We ignored our duty to our country. We cannot allow enemies that have the intent to destroy us to stay with that. Hakam le'ashkimcha, hashkem lehorgo. It's an old Hebrew saying. He who rise to kill you, you rise up earlier and you go and kill him. Meaning you go and stop him. You don't wait for him to come and kill you. And if you ask me, Israel is going to probably have to go on the ground. And they don't want it. That's why they're trying so badly to avoid it. That's why they're trying, even to hit them. And because Hezbollah is still shooting since the beginning of the war into Israel. And Israel just goes and assassinates the officers and leaders, trying to give them warning signs. Guys, don't do this. And I think they were contemplating, and looks now that actually want to do it. Nasrallah has been going with really disturbing announcements, saying that, they're going to go in a all-scale war against Israel. So I don't know. Why did it take so long to rescue the poor victims on October 7? The reason it went so long is because the army fell asleep on its nose. The reason it went so long is because the intelligence, that there were warnings there, the warnings never reached the right generals and the right politicians, and maybe it reached and they just decided not to. There's so much conspiracy theories about it. There's so much also questions, and I really hope we get to the answers and people get paid for that, for the neglectance. They had one job. There was a border there. A good friend of mine is literally an Apache pilot that, in 90 minutes after that, he was already in the air. And he went, and him and his team, 3 Apaches, went and literally took down probably several thousand terrorists that were trying to cross. They stopped that Muslimbi horde that that was going into Israel, because they started WhatsApping each other. Look what we're doing. Yamma, yamma, I just killed 10 Jewish. I just killed the woman and her husband. Yamma, yamma. They were calling each other all excited and hyped. And people in Gaza started getting hyped. And you had people with crutches and I don't know what running. And they really wanted to go and get to Tel Aviv and just loot, burn, and kill. And from the river to the sea. And then these Apaches came and had a bitter plan. You know, surprise, man, boop. And came and gave a different kind of wake-up call for them and reminded them, you might have succeeded now, but don't, it's going to end now. And he said it looked like a zombie movie. They just went and back and forth. So Israel had the capability of stopping October 7 easily. And they did it. Not only that, after the chaos, Hamas have took hold of so many Jewish towns and kibbutzim, and people were being held there, and the army was just not ready. There was no organization. There was actually most of the people that saved Israel in that day were individual special forces units and individual citizens and soldiers that just went there, hooked with each other, and started fighting. A good friend of mine was in the airport on the way to a vacation when he heard what happened, and he went and he hooked up with a few other friends from the unit. And the four of them ended up just going randomly, meeting together, meeting another wounded soldier, getting a weapon from some of the dead Hamas soldiers, terrorists there. And they were using weapons that were found on the floor, and they end up fending a whole kibbutz from tens of terrorists who were trying to go and kill and butcher everybody in the kibbutz. So these were the people that ended up saving the survivors and holding the line of Israel for the first, I would say, 12 hours. And that's, you know, a tragedy, because it is the, yep, and Yamam and other tier 1 units took a heavy loss. You see, units like Yamam, like Shayetet, the Navy SEALs, like the Lotav, they usually come with no casualties. They usually come with one casualty. You know, they're so precise, so good. They were so overwhelmed. A team of Shaldag or Navy SEALs just goes and lands there quickly, or drive with their Pepsi, you know, jeeps or the helicopters, and they just land. And then suddenly they're being shot at by, you know, 300 terrorists with RPGs, with mortars, with sniper guns, and they were fighting for the battle of their life. I think we're gonna have movies about it. There's gonna be so many heroic stories of units that fought until the end, literally gave their life and defending with minimum intel. Yeah, people didn't know. People had no idea, and just literally fighting there to defend and hold the line. But that's a very interesting question, because this happened in Israel. And in the end, the terrorists got defeated by mostly civilians, women, men, who fought and defeated them. There were women there that got more kills than a winning team in Call of Duty, you know, when they finished the game. They literally had more X's on their guns of, you know, these jihadist Taliban's cowards, Hamasnikim. What will happen if a bunch of 3,000 radical jihadist, terrorist, bloodthirsty death cult will come now and start running around in Switzerland, in Germany, or in Britain? How many casualties will they take, and how long will it take the people in these countries to go and stop them? Is it going to be civilians fighting them in the streets? Is it going to be young, strong, able-bodied men and women? Who's going to be holding the line for your countries? And I think that's a very important question to ask yourself, especially in now's generation where people are not willing to fight for what they want to stand for. I know if that would have happened in Texas, they won't last a day. But if that would happen in LA, how long will it take until the army can save LA from something like that? So in Israel, people went and fought. People went and fought. Brave men and women literally stood there and fended off against these maniacs, and they took them down. Those are the peoples of the dark. Yeah, these are the heroes. These are the heroes. So many of them paid. So many of the special forces lost so many of their, you know, best men, best brothers and sisters, holding the line for the state of Israel. Why Nasrallah sounds so confident with his statement? Does he know something that Israel doesn't know? Nasrallah is great and theatrical. Nasrallah, if you look at all the videos of Hizbollah, they're very good at PR. You know, they became very good at making these like dramatic videos and statements. When Nasrallah want to talk, it's more than, Nasrallah is literally probably one of the best YouTubers in the world. When he want to talk, he will have the best thumbnail for it, and you will have like a week notice for the live stream of Nasrallah with like tick tock, like, you know, with all kind of trailers showing like a Mission Impossible that wired before it explodes, or I don't know what. And they're very good at it. Do they know something that we don't know? He's a clown in a bunker. Yes. He's gonna hide. Yes. I think the only thing that really concerns not only Israel and the real world is, where is Iran with this nuclear weapon? They have nothing against the West that gives them an advantage, an edge. Nothing. Literally, not technology, not training, not quality of manpower and soldiers and etc., not culture, not science. But if they will get a nuclear weapon, then it's a whole different ballgame. Then we're really stuck. So the only thing that I see that might be concerning is, where is Iran standing with that? Because Hezbollah is just a proxy of Iran. Let me try to see other questions here. Ainora, thank you so much for moderating. You are being a legend. I said it in the beginning of the video, I'm going to say it again. Ainora is a lady from India, I think, that decided to be a moderator and help me moderate the channel and help me see the questions here. And it's making it so easier compared to the last video. Actually, wait, Amir, are you still in the video? If Amir or Davis are still here, show me a sign. I have something to show you guys, important for you. I'll be cautious. Mocking Nasrallah brings back memories of certain folk regarding Hamas. No, you're 100% right. We should never underestimate our enemy. I was just talking about the fact that how good is he in theatrical, and the fact that he's showing confidence doesn't really mean that, you know, there's something, but maybe there is. Amir is here. Okay. Well, Leah, welcome back as a subscriber. Amir, listen. Everybody shout out to Amir. He just became a new father. So, Habibi, Mabruk. I don't know if anyone clapped hands and back in his home, but that would be hilarious if someone did. So he's a young father. So Amir, listen, this is not a sponsored commercial in any way. No one is paying me. I actually like this product, and that's what I want to show you. This is called the Toniebox. Talk to your wife. Highly recommend. And then what you can do is you get figures, and your kid can have a suitcase with all kind of story figures. And what he does, he put it on it, and he starts telling you the story. So your kid have an audiobook from a young age until he can learn how to read and doesn't need to look at videos. I don't know what. The cool part is this figure here, the Snoop King guy. You can put your voice in it. And if you put your voice in it, it will tell the story using your voice. So if you're ever on a business trip or I don't know what, it's a great thing for parents who want their kids to listen to stories, to strengthen their imagination, and not just be zombies watching videos. Sorry guys, as parenting is something that's really in my heart, and I always like talking about it. Mazel tov, Amir, Ken. All right, now let's see, which other questions do I have? Please, not a zombie apocalypse question. We are the dog. Welcome, thanks for joining us. Okay, someone is called We Are the Dog. Okay, I got confused. I think I'm gonna try to cut it, guys, in 7 minutes, because I want to cut it to 1 hour. I don't want to exceed 1 hour. I might, you know, a little bit more. But if anyone have any other questions or something that I missed, I'll be more than happy to answer. Buy me one when you come visit, Kamtsan. Yala, sagu, alay. That's gonna be a gift for your child. And you know what? I'm gonna even put my own story inside, and you don't question it. You have to let your kid listen to it. And that story might have things that you might not like, but I would like, so definitely. Any thoughts on Turkey? Wow. We have a lot of problems with antisemitism. It's in Europe since October 7. All right, let me try to answer these two. There's a serious problem with anti-Semitism in Europe, a serious problem. I went undercover here in Europe, in Germany, and in other places, several times undercover, just dressed as an Arab with my kafia and went listening. And what I saw is a clear dissonance between what the pro-Palestinians are talking with themselves and what the Europeans are rallying behind. And a lot of the Europeans are going there because they want to believe in social justice. They want to stop the war. They like to go under slogans like stop the genocide and beautiful words like that are actually very, you know, I wish more people would want to stop wars. But what happened is they're being fiddler in the roof kind of by radicals who are Nazis have Nazi ideology embedded, I'm talking radical Islam, embedded in their values, who are calling for genocide. And I've seen it in Germany, where in Arabic they were singing songs like Roh Bidam, Nafdiki Palestine, with spirit and blood, we will free you Palestine. And this was a call for terrorism, clear call for terrorism during the Intifada, and others calling for people to go and sacrifice their lives. Calls like from the river to the sea, all the way to calls like down with Israel. And the Germans were singing behind them, singing these words with them, not knowing. And the ones that were doing that were, you know, queers for Palestinians and liberal students that have no idea what kind of genocidal lunatics they're following. So anti-Semitism in Europe is big. Okay, Kodumachi, talking about zombies, how are we going to go about de-radicalization for future generation? De-radicalization for future generation is one of the things that holds me at night as a father. I see my job as a father, as a man, walking this earth, is to bring my child a better future. He didn't choose to be born here. I brought him to this life, me and his mom. And now when I go, what kind of world am I leaving behind me? And I think if more men and women will start thinking that way, we'll take responsibility for the world that we're living in, we'll start seeing more real social justice, real justice warriors, real people that are standing against what's wrong. And our job is to make sure that our kids grew up in a world that is not racist, not anti-Semite, not pro-terrorism. So we need to start calling these things out for who they are. And if we don't know how to call racism racism, then we're never going to be able to abolish and stop. If we don't know how to call terrorist supporters as terrorists, you are a terrorist supporter. You are standing with terrorists. That's not accepted. If we don't learn to call them out, we're going to end up suffering the consequences. And we need to have more and more parents, more and more adults take that role very seriously and start calling them out and being zero tolerant with them. The moment you mention something that is considered anti-Semite, considered pro-terrorism, considered pro-genocide, considered non-tolerant or other religion, you're out. You're out. We don't want you here. We don't want anyone that is going to say you can't come here because you're a Christian, you're a Jew, you're a Muslim. People should be able to live freely, and anyone that speaks against that should be out of the question, should be stopped immediately, canceled, and shamed. And we don't have that in our culture where we're actually shaming people for being idiots. Then you're going to have a lot of idiots walking the street. And you look now with anti-Semitism, it became so popular to become anti-Semite, became so popular to become following Hitler in colleges in the US, that is just mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing how little consequences there are for these college students who went and hijacked a whole university and was siding with genocidal maniacs, death cults. They were siding with Hamas, which is no different than ISIS. Even ISIS came and said, you know, there was a point that ISIS told Hamas, whoa, guys, you're doing too much. You know, ISIS came and told Hamas, you guys are being too much, you know, using your own civilization like a human shield. We're all for, you know, killing and suicide bombing and Allah Akbar blowing buses. But I mean, you're overdoing it with using your people as human shields. So even ISIS were blushing next to Hamas. And then you have college students in the US that are just completely standing with Hamas. And there's no consequences and shame for that kind of behavior. And if we don't stop that, that's terrible. Let's see. How do you think the situation in Europe will develop? Vivian is asking, I don't see how these violence and anti-Semitism protests will calm down in the current measurement. How can Europe recover? How can Europe recover? By making a very, very clear policy about immigration. Not anyone can enter this country. You need to show that you have our values. You need to show that you have, you know, that you want to adapt to our values, and they don't have that. And that might be a good topic for the next video, because I know from close hand, because some of my family members were these refugees from Lebanon and Syria that fled into Europe, and they saw along the journey that for every one peaceful, real asylum seeker, there were about 40 to 50 radical warmongers that pretended to be, they saw it with their own eyes, that pretended to be refugees just so they could infiltrate Europe. And they even told anyone there, if anyone say a word, we kill them. And even in the refugee camps in Europe, and Europe just welcomed them in. Just welcomed them in. So Europe needs to start deporting a lot of these radicals. And a great way, just go into these pro-Palestine demonstrations and see who is supporting Hamas. These are not people you want in your society. You don't. And a lot of people are going to be very angry about what I said, and I don't care. I'm just saying the truth as I know it. You don't want radicals, terrorist supporters in your country. And if you don't protect your own people from them, you're going to pay the price and consequences. I forgot to answer the question right. Why the Lebanese are not uprising? You're right, Cathyist. Thank you for reminding me. I'll answer that. The Lebanese are afraid to uprise. There is the people that are afraid to uprise because Hezbollah is just way strong and they're literally killing and executing. And that is a problem in most Muslim countries, that they kill people with different opinions. It's so easy to flag you as a traitor, as a kuffar, as a blasphemer, and then you're dead. If not you, then your family. They fight very dirty. And a lot of people are just afraid. That's one thing. Another thing is, after so many years of radicalization, although the radicalization and propaganda in Lebanon was not as efficient as Hamas did, because it didn't have UNRWA that just literally radicalized the whole nation from the age of 2. But even there is a lot of radicalization, there's a lot of anti-Semitism, there's a lot of, ignorance towards the Jews, there's a lot of fear. I know a personal story of a woman that me and a friend of mine helped get out of Gaza because she was pregnant and she had a problem with her child, with her pregnancy, and she was about to lose the kids in her, inside of her. So we managed to get permission, special permission by Israel, the IDF, and etc., to let her come to Israel so Israel can save her baby. And when she was in Israel, one of the conversations really struck me was she came and she said, I am very shocked. All my life I've been hearing by Hamas, by the propaganda, that Israel is laid to waste, that Israel has been destroyed, that all the Jews are evil and afraid and tired and just, that it's a war zone and they're full of hate. And now I come and Israel is cleaner than Gaza. Everyone is friendly here. The doctors, Jews, Christian, Arabs are being very kind to me. And she said, I don't know what to think. She was completely shocked. And that was as if someone was living in North Korea, in Truman Show, and he comes out and he realized, wow. So the same thing is happening in a lot of the Muslim world, where there's so much lies and propaganda to Arabs, by Arabs, that are telling them lies about the Jews, anti-Semitic lies, and just, stuff that are just wrong. And so a lot of them do believe that Israel is the problem. Uneducated ignorance. You have your role models around you and they're all full of hate. It's going to be very hard for you to break out of that system. So that's why I respect so much Muslim men and women that come out of that world and are freely speaking and open about it and say wow, I've been there, I know what's happening. It takes a lot of sacrifice. It's so much more heroism than having some kind of a purple-haired college student in LA going around and feeling like she's justice warrior because she didn't shave her armpit, she's not wearing a bra, and she's holding a keffiyeh and saying free Palestine. She's not sacrificing anything. She's just doing it for the likes and for the attention seeker and virtue signaling. But these people that are living in this Middle East who come out as a real hero and speak out against atrocities of the Muslim radical world, they are real heroes. Let me see if I missed any other questions. And if I missed, you feel free to flag it up. Again, guys, I'm trying. Wow. This is why I love Armin Navadi, wonderful advocate for ex-Muslims. There's actually a lady named Jasmine. There's a Muslim lady named Jasmine that was forced to marry a Taliban when she was a child, I think. And someone, Dr. Azi, a Jewish lady, just connected between us today. And we are thinking of doing a video together. Now, if you don't know, I'm starting my own podcast. And right now, I'm my own guest because I don't have any funds or means to bring other guests. So I'm interviewing myself, or sometimes I'm interviewing my phone as a ChatGPT. But the moment that I'll be able to have guests coming, or maybe that I'll go to Israel or to the US or anywhere and I'll interview people. Yes, Jasmine Mohammed, I think. Exactly, that's the lady. That's the one. So I want to start doing more and more interviews, not only about politics and Hamas, Hezbollah, all these stuff, also about the stuff that are really close to my heart, which is inspiration, art, movies, education, parenting, healthy lifestyle, etc. But also about politics, which is a big thing, and also about army stuff. I did come from the special forces. and I was, spend a lifetime there. So there's a lot of things that I know from there that are interested for me to talk, and I'm just happy to talk. So there is a podcast. It's coming. It's already out. There's videos that you've seen. Some of you probably are here because I started taking YouTube more seriously. I basically told Instagram, on Instagram, hold my beer. I'm gonna go now, and I'm gonna try to figure out the algorithm in YouTube and see if I can put my videos there and if people are enjoying them. So if you are enjoying my videos, thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate the comment, the like, and the share, and all this other shebang. Hope you'll grow faster and faster. Amen to that. Some kind of tease. The names here are epic. The fabulous snowflake. Some of you guys have really cool names. Well, my name is just made up. I started my YouTube channel about 15 years ago, but I didn't even know I had a YouTube channel. I just wanted to upload a video to the internet of something that I did with some refugee kids that were playing, and we made like a dance video together. So I had to create a YouTube account. So I created it, and I didn't know how to call it. I called Mr. Sahbak. And then I forgot that I had a YouTube channel for like 10 years. And then when I started doing YouTube, I was like, oh, I have an account. So I continued from there. To AP, because I think he would like you. Yeah, I don't know who's AP, but anyone that can recommend me to someone or connect me with interesting people to be interviewed in my podcast or to talk about. A lot of the videos that I talk about are things that come through the comments that people are putting in my videos, or personal, DMs that I'm getting in Instagram and other Facebook, and it gives me ideas for videos. Wow, Ainora is becoming a boss. I guess that's why you're a good moderator, not on my watch. I love that girl. The reason I asked you about Yuval Noah Harari, okay, sorry, is because he talks about stories and arguments between people. I think the way to explain is really great for kids trying to understand war religions. Yeah, the art of storytelling in general is one of the most ancient, most important arts that we have in our culture. From the times of bone storytelling to a time of religious storytelling, all the way to, we're tuned to that. If you look at your kid, I look at my kid, one of his favorite things is storytelling. Every night when I tell him a bedtime story, his eyes glow, and it's so easy to actually get him hooked. Like I tell him, and then they entered the room, and it was dark, and he's like, and I say, and do you know what happened? And you can see he can't even hold it. What? He jumps in because people are really fascinated by storytelling. So anyone who have a storytelling way of telling events is a great way of explaining things. German feminist woman. I had to really hold myself and re-edit the video because I did not want to humiliate her too much. So I actually took her pictures out because I try, to be respectful even to people that have dumb, stupid ideas. But the fact that a German feminist felt confident to stand in front of an Arab man and tell him that he's not Arab. What? Excuse me? And tell him that he have no clue about the Middle East. And then I asked her, Habibti, did you ever go to Gaza? No. I've been to Gaza. Habibti, did you ever go to Ramallah? No. I've been to Habibti, did you ever go to Tel Aviv? No. So you've never been in the Middle East? No, I haven't, but I've had so many video calls with them. So I told you had video calls because you had Zoom videos with jihadists. Now you became an expert to the Middle East, and you can disregard. Okay, everybody, stop listening to real Arabs that come from the Middle East. I have no clue what they're talking about. Listen to me. I'm a German feminist. I can tell you all about Islam and Israel. That was just mind-blowing, so I had to make a video. I just made a video on the spot. All right. To be fair, that's a common German trait. I'll refrain from leaving a comment about that. I did meet a lot of very impressive, strong German women, and I did meet a lot of very just batshit crazy German feminists that, have, honestly, the relation between to being feminist is just, nothing. They're not real feminists, and they don't help women in any way. I grew up with a real feminist in my house, my mom. And when I say feminist, I'm talking a strong woman, a real strong woman that stood on strong values, that just, will not afraid and try to shape the world and try to bring respect to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. So when I come and meet these fake, balloony, phony, wannabe feminists, it's hard for me to be quiet. you know, and if they're coming and siding with jihadist rapists over the victims, over your sisters who got raped by these jihadists, and you have women who got raped by jihadists, and now you are standing and says, okay, I'm gonna go with them. How in the world do you dare call yourself a feminist? That is just insane. So anyway, don't get me started talking about these lunatics. I get hyped. Yeah, they're telling themselves a story. All right, I'm gonna leave a place for one last question, and then we're gonna end up with that. Rape is not a resistant. Absolutely not. All right, Freddie made a comment, and we can finish with that. Why don't Christians help other Christians? When you go to the doctor and you have cancer, the treatment for cancer is going to be very difficult, very hard, very painful. It might involve, you know, cutting parts of your body, taking them out, or chemotherapy that is basically killing your body to heal the body. Countries that have been hijacked by radical Islam is like cancer. It is like cancer that goes into that society, and it may make them admire death over life, make them want to kill, make them, you know, financially bankrupt them, take them down. It brings catastrophe and disaster everywhere. That's the Muslim Brotherhood. That's why most Arab countries around the Middle East don't want to do anything with Gaza, because they know these guys are Muslim Brotherhood. We don't want anything to do with them. Even the civilians there have been completely radicalized from young age. So the solution for these things is going to be very hard. Very hard. And the question is, does the West have what it takes to really go all the way to try to fix it, or they should just detach? You know what, guys, stay in your own medieval mentality, leave us alone, you live your life, you do you, I do me, and stay away. But to mix them, it's not going to work. Why do Christians do not fight anymore? The church has no armies anymore. Well, you know, last time the church had an army, with all due respect, there was a lot of crusades, let's call it that way. So I don't know if the church should get an army, but in general, Christians definitely should learn to stand more. But that's the thing, Christianity is a much more peaceful religion, by definition. When I was in university, I was writing an article about it, and I was comparing between Christianity theology to Muslim theology, and like the differences between the disciples, the prophets, the followers, you know, Jesus, Muhammad, the apostles, the disciples, and the warlords that were, you know, with Muhammad, and later on, what's the difference? And you can see it's a day and night. It's one religion is very, very peaceful. Yes, humans manage to take that religion and do very bad things in the name of it, but the religion of Christianity is extremely peaceful. Extremely peaceful. It's like the closest to a pacifist religion you can find in some aspects. You know, Jesus said, turn your other cheek, love your enemy. Which other religion tells you to love your enemy like you love yourself? It's insane. Forgiveness is the highest thing. While Islam was all about the sword and the gore and conquering the world, and the world is divided to two, Dar al-Harb, Dar al-Islam, the house of war, the house of Islam. And you need to go in jihad, you need to go and kill the infidels. So very different religions, and the thing is that Christians in general are not good at standing for themselves nowadays in modern society, and they're suffering one of the greatest genocides that is happening in Darfur, and in Kenya we have it, and in other places around Africa and Muslim worlds. So I hope they learn to defend themselves, or the Christian world will stand for them. Here only old people go to church. Someone wrote that. Why am I spreading false information? Are you Muslim? No, it's not false information, brother. Not false information. I'm an Arab. I grew up in this culture. I know it inside out, and I'm telling you it's not false. Just because I don't support terrorism and don't try to lie to Westerners like many of the pro-radical Islams are doing, doesn't mean that I'm spreading false information. It actually means that I'm telling the truth about what's happening there. So wake up. I go to church here and I'm young. I enjoy. I miss the days when I was going to church. I used to go to church a lot in Israel as a Druze, as an Arab, you know, and I have some of my best friends came from there. There were a lot of great values. Depends on the church that you go to, of course. If you are merciful, the guilty, you will not be merciful to the innocent. If you are merciful to the guilty. Oh, wow. That's a strong statement. Definitely. Fact Finder wrote that if you are merciful to the guilty, you will not be merciful to the innocent. Very true. Very true. Do I teach my daughter to speak Arabic? Well, first of all, it's a boy. Raphael is not a girl. And I teach him right now to speak Hebrew because his cousins, they speak Hebrew, and I want him to really, you know, connect with them and build friendship that will last for life, because usually the friendship that you build between the age of 5 to like 12, sometimes even 16 and 17, can be friendship that will go for life. So I want him to learn Hebrew so he can talk to them, but meanwhile I'm also teaching him Arabic. But I want him to be fluent in Hebrew. Right now he speaks English and German fluent, and he understands pretty good Hebrew and speaks pretty well, but I want him to get better at it. Once I see that he is, I will teach him Arabic. Arabic is similar to Hebrew, only more complicated, more difficult, because Hebrew froze for 2,000 years and was used mostly for prayers, and Arabic was still going on with a rising empire, so the language evolved and developed and took a lot of stuff from outside, so it's a more complicated language. Lots of Druze live in Syria, yes, but a lot of them are running away from Syria, running for their life because they're being persecuted and killed. You mentioned my name, then got distracted. Freddie Malouf. I kind of forgot. I got distracted so much. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much. Again, I want to say a great shout out for Ainura for being such an epic moderator. And I think this is the best live video that I had in terms of feeling organized, because up until now, I'm very new to these things. My channel is also new. And I appreciate anyone that took from his time and came here to listen and ask questions. Also, Craig Daniel Davidson, who did not get an answer about the zombie apocalypse. Maybe next time. And yeah, thank you so much, guys. You know, always welcome to go back to my channel and watch the videos. Help me reach more people. I'll appreciate if you can help me grow this channel. I am starting to take this serious and to try to make, basically this is gonna be my job. I want to make this a full-time, telling stories that make the world a better place, one video at a time. So by helping me with that, I really appreciate. And please do more live videos. I'm planning on doing one live video a week. That's I'm hoping to do. I think I can fit it with my parenting, you know, work and etc. Out from Lebanon. Javier. Wow, Freddie, if you are from Lebanon, I love you, man. I really love you. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to have you here. And I really, really hope that we can avoid war with Lebanon. I really, really hope that the people who want peace can actually enjoy peace and not being forced into war. I've been to war. I've been to several wars, and there's nothing good about it. Nothing good. It's not fun. It's not like in the movies where you think like, I don't know, some people might think it's cool. Nothing cool about it. One day at war and all the cool flies out of your system, and then you're left there with like, wow, this is real shit. Sorry for saying that word, but then you realize you don't want, so I really hope we can avoid that. And with that, thank you so much, everyone that came. Peace and love, and I'll meet you next week. Is my wife Jewish? Bye-bye.